LSD is a little crazier than weed, don't you think?
Not the weed I smoke. Boys, we're in China.
And this episode sponsored by Mita Wangzi Rice Crackers. We are going to get into this later on. A lot of exciting stuff about these rice cracker
related news.
A lot of rice cracker related news.
Don't tell Vox. They will ask for a cut of that.
And we'll give them part of this bag of rice crackers.
To be clear, we don't have anything. We just have a bunch of rice crackers.
Yeah.
We got paid in product.
A bag of crackers.
That's a smart deal.
Yeah, Lillian might ask for a few.
So,
Guys,
we're here, and
here.
we figured it out. We get China.
Yeah, I will say we have to get out before it collapses in 15 days, which is coming up quick, but we still have time to
some
enjoy
people are
ourselves.
split here. They said a few. We asked that one delivery driver. He said 15.
15.
And then we asked that woman at the spa. She said 25.
Right. So
it's up in the air. There's a window here.
But everyone agrees with YouTube that China will collapse within the next 30 days. And
I will say when we were on the 300-kilometer-hour train, I was shoddy craftsmanship. I was like, it's just ooh, they stop and smell the roses.
Was hot. They heat the water for you.
That's what's going to take down this country. Is that every restaurant only gives you the scalding hot water.
In the spicy food restaurants, they give you hot
and
water.
then when you're eating spicy rabbit, it's like your tongue gets numb.
All right, we've been here.
Okay.
What, this is day 5, 6?
This is day 5.
We flew into Shanghai. We spent 2 full days in Shanghai. We then spent a half day there and took an overnight sleeper train here to Chengdu, which you can see behind us is another one of the major cities. And in a day, tomorrow, we're going to Chongqing. We're going to be spending a couple days there. We're then going to go to Shenzhen. We're going to be ending the trip there, hopefully getting to look at some factories. We have been talking to random people on the street, people we've set up interviews with. We've been cruising and smoothing. It's all been quite cool, and we're going to tell you all about it and what we've learned.
Yeah, made a homie on the train, too. We're going to go get dinner with him tonight.
With our random Chinese train homie who offered us tea and slept next to us.
Yeah, he did sleep next to us. We had 2 sleeper cars. There's 4 bunks in each, and we took that overnight from Shanghai to Chengdu, and he was our bunkmate. The 3 of us were in one, and then I think he was...
Stefan and I were in another on the top bunk, and it was loud.
I contributed. We heard the couple in your guys' room was just hacking.
Yeah, they were
so just going to town.
They were snoring. I mean, to be fair though, we were pretty far. We were a whole 2 feet above them, so it's not like it lulled me to sleep.
There's a lot we could talk about. There's a lot of directions we could take.
Brandon, what's an experience you've had so far that you think is notable? And then tell us about it. Tell why it's interesting.
We have some kind of funny travel stories that we can go into, and there's also some stuff that I've been interested in seeing boots on the ground. There's some great stuff I want to say, some questionable stuff I want to say. I think there's a lot of interesting ways we can take this. I think we can start with a couple travel stories. I mean, we want to just get. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this
I'll
sells
let Aiden sell it. You just because we're on the train station. You're gonna want to say it. And I feel like I'm going to be midpoint on something else, and you're going to take this and you're going to use it against me.
It's so funny.
So I'd
you
rather
think you
get
know
it
what I'm
out
going
of
to say.
the way.
I was going to start with a story that doesn't have to do with you. I thought this is I'm not representative of the country. But the strangest thing I've seen is we were in that candy store in Shanghai, and somebody in the store walks by. He's a guy with presumably a Chinese guy with a ponytail and a white jacket on, and I look in his eyes. He has blood red contacts in, so I feel like I'm making eye contact with like a vampire from Twilight.
No, it was legitimately a Chinese vampire. He literally
and then as he walks by, like I see him. Because I'm obviously looking at his eyes, and then I look down after he gets past me. He has a Nazi Iron Cross armband.
Dude, it was
on his arm, and no question about it. The correct color scheme, like the red outline, square armband with the white and the black red, the black Iron Cross in the middle.
Aiden look at me shocked, then take out his phone, Google Iron Cross.
Because I had to double check. I had to double check. I was like, because I didn't want to maybe I'm just misjudging this.
Yeah.
Most insane thing I've seen so far.
That was the only Chinese vampire Nazi I've seen this trip. Outside of that,
I heard once we get to Shenzhen, it's crazy.
They've taken over. Okay, I think 5 things I want to talk about. One of them is EVs. we could just talk about that.
Let's start with EVs and then talk about trains because I was looking a little bit into the history. Yeah. Okay, let's start with EVs.
All right,
this
so
was,
EVs.
by the way, like I'm not a car person, and we mentioned this on the Patreon as well. One of the things that we spent half a day doing on day 2 was driving across town so we could go look at the Xiaomi SU7 new car.
Yep.
So we went to, this is the equivalent of in America, if you're visiting a new city, right? You're visiting, I don't know, Minneapolis or something. You'd be like, hey, I heard Chrysler has a new car.
Yep.
We should drive 40 minutes across town and spend 3 hours in a mall looking at a showroom car.
Yep.
That's going to be awesome. We have 2 days here out of a 2-week trip in America.
Doug was not sold on the idea, but I think it ended up being rather fun.
Fucking awesome. Like it is awesome. Just the premise is absurd.
I mean, we've talked about this, on my stream, and Johnny probably heard that China is making great strides in EVs. And boots on the ground, fact. It's a fact.
Dude.
Yeah.
Couple main things is that when you have an electric vehicle, you have a green license plate, and if not, you have a blue one. We are walking around 2 of these major cities, and it is green license plates pretty much as far as the eye can see. We heard from our interpreter today that they have a sign entering the city that certain license plates, like if your number ends in 1 and 6, you can't enter the city today. But if you have a green license plate, that does not apply. Wow. So there's like restrictions that prevent ICE, hashtag fuck ICE vehicles, internal provision.
We saw this in, this was in Chengdu today.
Yeah.
That was,
and so like they've clearly put like heavy government pressure to get EVs mainly adopted. And because of that, there is intense, I've talked about this before, but seeing it firsthand is crazy. There is intense competition for the EV market in China because everybody is kind of pushing to buying one. So winning that market is huge.
I would say particularly in Shanghai, like maybe just anecdotally, slightly less in Chengdu, but in Shanghai, it felt like 80% of the cars I'm looking at on the road are EVs. Like,
and you mentioned this, but it's like all different brands. You're walking, you rarely see like 3 of the same brand. It's always like...
Yeah. And even weirdly, it's not a lot of BYD, which the story is that they're like the dominant number one. We've seen hardly any. It sounds like they're mostly in international markets now, not in China. There's so many.
I think I saw more in Mexico City. I saw more BYDs in Mexico City than I saw in Shanghai. Like 100%.
Yeah.
And I can say as a not car guy, they're so cool. Like they're beautiful, and the inside of every car we've got into is just like incredible. There's screens everywhere and places that are unnecessary.
Dude, I will say I agree with Doug. We got into one. We were taking a Didi, which is like the Uber equivalent here, and it was a van. I forget what brand or model it was, but on the armrests of the passenger seats in the back, there were screens built into them to like adjust all the chair settings. And
a knob could have done that.
I'm like, guys,
it's an iPhone. It even has like, I think it's the same OS. It's like there's a little iPhone in the armrest so that you can press back on the seat. Like that's it.
We could just, it's okay for some of them to be knobs and dials still.
Yeah.
That's where, because anyway.
Every taxi, gigantic screen dash with a screen hollow panel in the front part of the bottom part of the
have
windshield.
like panels above like the license plates on the back, like just so you can have like cool things flashing on the back of your car. Wild.
Yeah, no shortage of screens in the EV. So that's been an interesting thing, is like just confirming that it is it's as prevalent here as you would expect, if not more so.
More so.
Yeah.
I think I came in with high expectations, and
the competition is truly fierce. We're, every mall we go to, the first floor, all EV showrooms, all competing with each other. Tesla's in there, but it's just one of many. Company that I invested in a while ago called Neo, which I thought would be the next big thing, is like it's nowhere to be found. Tiniest little showroom I've seen one time.
This is their year, though. This is their year.
This could be their
also,
year.
we haven't even been to Chongqing or Shenzhen.
Those
were
I mean, they're supposed to be like the super luxury high end one, but we'll see.
So what is anything surprise you about the car itself? Like seeing, because we like went into cars both Uber and in the showroom.
I think the experience we had of seeing the brand new one was kind of cool, because they had, honestly, the streamers around it was the interesting thing. Like, there was some marketing thing they'd set up, or we don't know if they'd set it up, but it seemed like it. There was just streamers live streaming and just screaming the car specs and going in circles as the car released.
I can to like set the context. It's like if you're in a mall in America and there's like a car in one of the like small mall booths, and then there's 3 people around it with her phone, just like
Ford F-150, and it's got 100 horsepower, and it's great, like that. It's like that.
The new vehicle's coming out tonight. You're going to see the prices. They are coming out tonight, and you should go look at these comments happening right now. And they're just like 3 of them around. We looked online, and they have 1 viewer, 20 viewers, and I want to say like 14 viewers.
14 viewers.
So they're just there, just streaming. It's awesome. And it's like, there's no one else, by the way. It's like 3 streamers around a car,
us.
just yelling, and then us.
Yeah.
This is a strange first impression I've had, is the number of people that we've run into or seen that are seemingly live streaming on Douyin, which is like the Chinese version of TikTok.
Yeah.
And basically the same app. And the number of people who are just live streaming something out in public on that app, especially in Shanghai, and presumably doing it to nobody. Like with very few viewers.
Dude, this really cooked my noodle. We were out in the rain on a bridge, and I saw a guy live streaming with a not moving chat, telling the weather. He was like explaining the weather to his chat, and like one person would pop in and ask a question like, do you think it's a good time to go out? And he's like, no, it's raining. It was crazy. And I was like, what? Why are you standing out in the rain to deliver this message? Yeah. Oh, I think it's a good misconception to clear up, because people have this about whether or not Chinese TikTok is educational versus the American Brainrot one. I want to get you a 100% clear answer. It is as brain-rotted as anything you've ever. It is just as much. There is no brain rot difference. The brain rot gap is not real. And everyone is using their phones the same as mine. Like that is a universal. Whatever you think about kids on their phones, adults on their phone in America, it's the same here. I would say, and people are scrolling short form video. That has taken over the world. There is no great firewall difference in short form video.
I've been seeing some inspirational videos about pandas like losing objects and getting them back, all crafted by
AI
hand.
generated.
Dude.
Actually, it may be, here I'll say, because we have a lot of good things to say about China, I'll say it may be a little bit more brain rotted because of the true prevalence of AI video. It is every third video on Weibo. And again, I'm not as deep in social. I probably haven't missed Douyin stuff, but every third video is AI generated. And when I was on the train, even they had, state media on their AI videos. Like, it's just not a thing that it's not a bad, or not considered a bad thing.
I think it's really odd to see for those who have browsed on something like YouTube Shorts and you've seen these AI animations where you watch like a tiny anthropomorphic cat get lost and get adopted by new anthropomorphic cat parents as the background music goes meow, 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 meow. Like that style of weird AI animation is everywhere.
Yeah.
I see it. It's so prevalent on like screens, on trains.
No, but imagine that, but it's an eagle and it's representing America.
Yeah.
And it's from Chinese state media and it's discussing what's going on in Iran.
Dude,
there's some crazy stuff, bro.
Can't wait till we get there. It's probably like 6 months.
I mean, Trump does tweet AI video. I'll just say
I guess that's true.
That's true. And the White House has traded some fucking Halo music over.
But we have talked to a few people, and the AI skepticism that I think is so prevalent in the US is just not here in the same way. There's a very strong public favor from the people we've asked and from what they think of what other people think of AI being a good thing and something that will be positively integrated into whatever the future is. Like, it will be something that helps, not hurts. And it's interesting to see the disparity in the opinions between back home and here.
Yeah, let me follow up on that, because so we spoke with this person who works with Chinese universities and basically helps American students study abroad in China and does these like pairing programs at the universities. Asked us to keep the actual program and name anonymous, but had a really interesting conversation. He's lived here for 30 years, has seen a ton of different stuff up close. He is American, but has been like deeply integrated in many different places of China.
And he speaks fluent Mandarin. He's lived here for a very long time.
Dude, you told a very funny story about how I've been here 30 years. Every time I speak Chinese, someone goes, "Wow, your Chinese is so nice."
Yeah. I get that in LA with English.
With English.
So amongst many things that we've sort of like thematically seen over this trip, one of the things I've been most impressed with that he said, and I feel like I'm seeing it more, is that China has the ability to pivot, and they've shown how quickly they can pivot as a country over and over and over many decades. And he's seen that over the last 30 years. So he listed labor laws as this example where famously labor laws were extraordinarily bad in China. And then there was just this massive overhaul. And now there's actually a lot of workers' rights. And he said, like, in the university, like, it is hard to fire somebody. It is, you have to guarantee certain pay and all these different things that you don't associate with China, because the stereotype is, horrible working conditions and blah, blah, blah. And basically said this is one of many examples where he's seen where as problems start to arise, the entire country can just turn on a dime and change something. So with AI specifically, he said everybody's used to change. Like the actual physical country has been changing for decades at this insane pace. Everybody's lives are getting better. And so they're used to change. They're embracing change. They feel like they keep seeing the positives in their life as I mean, literally now, I would say in many respects, somebody's life in China seems more modernized and convenient than ours, right?
Yeah.
Like by a wide margin in number of respects, I'd say.
Yeah.
Obviously
100%.
not in all of them. And so then he said, with AI, he's like, people are just willing and excited. And they're like, yeah, this is part of change. This is new technology. And on top of that, because everybody uses these super apps like WeChat and Alipay that does everything. You order food, you order cars, you do personal chatting, that's also how you communicate with your job. Everything is through these apps. So as they're introducing AI, it just goes right into the apps you already have. And so that was so interesting. Like we have this weird kind of like separation with the giant companies that everybody's building this resentment. The approval rating for AI right now is like, it's like near the Democrats. Like it's so low in America. And then here everybody's cool with it.
Yeah, I wanted to add two stories to this. One that confirms it and one that sort of steelmans against it. So I did a little research. So the first thing about AI adoption being across all demographics and ages here is that if you guys have heard about OpenClaw in America or in the West, it's like, I mean, maybe you could explain it better than I am, but it's like it was created in Europe actually, and it's a thing you can give access to your PC that allows AI to read all your root files and all your messages and all your emails. And you can use it to optimize your life and tell it to be like, hey, sort my emails, organize my emails, or it has control of your whole PC to do stuff. And you can just like, it's like a more access version of Claude.
Yeah, if you trust an AI to just do literally anything with your emails and your accounts and your computer, then hook it up.
Well, great. This is a security flaw. But that's what I'm saying is, so here, OpenClaw has become a bit of a phenomenon. It's become like a real cultural trend. There's many, many articles about how it's kind of, they're calling it a nation of raising lobsters because it's the claw. And so in some local provinces, your people are getting paid to help set it up, to like go out and help people who are older are going out and getting their laptops to add OpenClaw to it. It's becoming pretty big. And there are messages from what you said, like official Chinese government messages are saying, hey, do this to be sure for security because there's a lot of security flaws in it. But there's like this race. I think there's like a general race from people of all ages to be like, I want to make sure that I'm ahead or understand AI as a concept. And this is an example of that. And then a little bit of a steelman against it though is I did find articles from Chinese sources and comments that I got translated, which were like from white collar workers, similar to what's going on in America, where people are worried about it. There is like a worry that is.
I mean, I talked to it's like 2 or 3 people now in China. Now I mean, thanks to our incredibly wonderful interpreter, Stefik, we've been able to have like, I think, great conversations with people. We're not just like walking around pointing at tourist stuff. So we've been trying to like really talk in depth with folks.
I think
yes, obvious caveat to this entire episode. Yes.
The difference that you kind of see themed across all of the conversations we're having is there is a way stronger faith in the government here to tackle problems.
Yeah.
Like if something new comes up or a problem is on the way, I'm not super stressed about the problem because there is going to be a solution. The confidence that it's going to be taken care of, we're going to adapt and like overcome or find the best way to integrate that new thing into life here. And that, I feel like that theme exists through everything we've talked to or about with everyone. Like it's super.
People are extremely positive about China and feel so positively about the future of the country. And if you've seen for decades your country and lifestyle get better, and you've seen the government, obviously with many missteps, generally keep hitting and it keeps going better, it's like, of course you're going to feel optimistic. And of course change is going to be like, well, we will adapt to the change. Like I'm so impressed by that culture, given how much we don't want change in America because it will hurt the character of the neighborhood.
I was thinking about the different people we've talked to and how they all mention, wow, the country or the place that I'm from has changed so much in the last 20 years. Like it's remarkable how much it's changed. And I feel really confident and good about China's future, and also that I don't really feel pressed to leave or explore places outside of China. Like that, it's like not that they wouldn't travel outside of China, like for fun, but it's not like, oh, I need to go see and experience other parts of the world. It's like, I'll go see other parts of our amazing country. Yeah. And I feel like that's come up, I think 2 different times. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I don't want to be the guy that's only doing the other side, but I just want to say, like, you know, there was some, like the guy, the delivery driver we talked to, where he mentioned he had to move from his area because there was no job. I think that there's some similar things to what people are feeling in like early graduates, white collar jobs, young people that are felt in America. I think there's a very similar vibe of like, it's very competitive right now. There's not a ton of opportunity at that level, and people are trying to make that work. I think in general, like the things I'm seeing that I wish America would kind of learn from is just the broad structural stuff, which is like what tax money is spent on with regards to infrastructure and trains and everything. Like there's a clear advantage in that. I did notice, I think the thing I've been most struck by that I didn't think would be a thing here is the scale of everything. It really does feel bigger. Everything does feel bigger. I've been calling it the Texas of the world, in that everything feels bigger in China.
It's just China. It's the China of the world.
It is.
You don't have to. It doesn't.
But everything's bigger in Texas. I'm just thinking that's the thing. And you know, we were in the world.
Okay, hold on. It's not even a good analogy. In Texas, things are 1.5 times bigger. Here it is 100 times bigger.
Yeah.
This is not the Chengdu skyline, by the way. This is 100th of it, right? Like every one of these cities is at a scale that makes ours looks like ants. I remember seeing
not even the cities, bro. Like what's crazy is you're driving in between, we're on the train in between the cities, and you're in the less dense populated areas, and you're still seeing tall skyscrapers.
So many tall
You go
buildings.
from Los Angeles to Sacramento, and there's nothing there. And then you get from this medium-sized city to a medium-sized city. And here there's condos like this everywhere the whole time. Like,
the whole
I am
distance.
baffled by the scale of it. Like truly, it's just like unbelievable in the sense that I cannot believe it is real.
And yeah, we were in the Shanghai area, and I think this struck me too, is like the Shanghai metro area has a greater population than Germany. Like this one city, which is one small part of the map of China, has 80 million people. And so I sort of get a sense of, you know, I would say the thing, if I had to pick one thing that I still prefer, is that like there's certain aspects of my job that I clearly couldn't do here. Like I could not make a video criticizing Xi Jinping 10 days a week like I do with Trump, or I couldn't do it. But I do get, when I'm in Shanghai, I got the idea of like, when you have this many people, if you can get them all to row in even somewhat the same direction, the ability to move quick is crazy. And that is what I'm getting about China, is like, if they have to like, I don't know, restrict a few things to make everybody row this, you're just making progress at a scale that is so quick. You're building so much, so fast. The amount of concrete they pour in like a year is more than America's poured in the last 20. It's just, the new energy coming online there's like a lot of things that I'm just getting a sense of scale that is like, yeah, now that they're moving in the same direction, it's very hard to imagine.
They've managed to create a system where that's possible. I think that was reiterated by the university director we were speaking to. Was they have managed to do the impossible in a country that's this big with this many people. They can get people to make like cohesively get behind goals or ideas, and that's. At home in a country that is still large in population, right? A lot of those things seem so daunting because of how many people are in the US with so many different opinions. They're so polarized. And then this place has literally 4 times as many people.
Right.
And they're able to do it somehow.
Not even 4 times, not just that, but like the density. You know, again, it's like Shanghai greater area is 80 million people. That, you know, that's what, the entire West Coast and then some, you know, and it's all in like one area. That's the... You know what stuck with me? It's unbelievable how you can coordinate. And there's so many examples. You see it everywhere. The cities are incredibly clean, way cleaner than any American city I've been to. There's no trash on the streets at all. The streets are physically clean. There's cleaners going by 3 times a day. There's flowers in the middle of the road. Like, it's quiet. It's beautiful. Like, it's unbelievable, like how well coordinated it seems to be. And I don't understand how it's done on this scale.
Shanghai was like Tokyo clean. It was crazy.
Yeah. Which is not the stereotype. Yeah.
One thing that really, really stuck with me on the scale stuff is our friend on the train when he said, you guys have such a big country with so few people. I thought that was insane. Because from his perspective, it's totally true, right?
Right.
The US has the third largest population in the world. I don't know where it stands on like population density, but like 330 million people is a lot of people for a country. But when you think about the scale here of like 1.4 billion, it's in a totally different realm. And I was really, really trying to reiterate to my girlfriend who I've been texting, like, dude, the train stations that not only the train station in Shanghai that we left from, but the train stations that we stopped at along the way and like saw from the platform. And then the one we got off at Chengdu, and the length of that train ride and how the buildings never seem to stop along the way. And the hall of the train station is like the biggest thing you've ever seen, with like an almost like indescribable distance of trains and platforms at each one we started and stopped at. It all feels a little surreal in how big it is. Like this, and it doesn't really exist like this anywhere else. Like there's other countries in the world that have really good infrastructure and public transportation, but it doesn't exist at this scale, right? Like Switzerland's nailed it, but it's tiny. And it doesn't look like this.
Tiny by comparison, like truly tiny.
I think it gives me hope in a weird way. I think seeing it be done in this way with this many people makes me, it's a model in a way that we can do it too. Like the size factor, whenever you make a point about like infrastructure or things in the US, and people argue like we have too many people, our country's too big, things are too spread out or whatever. I think this demonstrates that like, dude, it's possible. These things can be built.
Well, was it ever questionable that was the question that it's possible?
No, I think
will we? No, to me, that's always been the bigger one.
I think people argue a lot of times when you argue with people about public transportation in the US or infrastructure in the US, they will tell you that a lot of the things you would want are not possible because of things like the amount of people we have, or like politically it's impossible, or logistically it's impossible. China. But people make it.
Yeah, but it's just like it's never been the roadblock has always been political.
Yeah,
it's always like we've never even gotten to the point where it's like, oh, we built it, but there's so many people we can't, or we're hitting a mountain and it's not. It's we don't even start building.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you looked at something like the high-speed rail network here and thought about, people will be like, oh, the country is just too big to build something like this. It's like and that is
it's
a justification
big to build from Los Angeles to Bakersfield. Which
but we went, dude, the train that we went on last night was basically the equivalent of us going from LA to Dallas overnight. That's what we did.
It was 14 hours?
Yes.
Technically, we transferred because Brandon...
Let's tell a story.
Is there any reason... All right, so we decided to take a sleeper car. Now, this is kind of quaint, right? This thing is much slower, much older. It's only 200 kilometers an hour.
Yuck! Which is for 120 miles an hour.
For context, our fastest train in America, Brightline, averages 69. 69 miles an hour.
Dude, it only goes 69?
Yeah, that's the average that we got. That's our newest and best one.
Men weren't meant to go faster than 69, okay? 69 is where you top out at safe speed.
Yeah. Gives you time to think.
Gives you time to think and look at that scenery and enjoy life.
So we decided to take the slow one, the 200 kilometer an hour, because that way we could do a sleeper car where we all get in beds, and we could do it overnight, and it'd be 14 hours instead of 10 if we had done the faster one, and then we get to the station at 6:30.
Okay, I'll just tell them. So yeah, we pulled up to the largest train station I've ever seen in my goddamn life. We go through the security where I have to show your passport, and I do show it, and then I get through, and in between walking from one end to the other, we had the last train car. We were at the very end of the thing. Somewhere in that gap, I lost my passport. And so we were trying to board the train and everyone is through the security and I am not, and I can't find it. And so I sprint full speed back through the largest train station I've ever been through in my life, sweating through my shirt with our interpreter. I get to the front. I ask them for my passport. They don't understand a word of what. The interpreter is not caught up to me yet, so it's just me. Nobody understands what I'm saying. I can't get my passport. I'm freaking out. She finally catches up. We talk to people. They say there's a lost and found, but it's outside of the train station in a basement. And like, if you leave, you can't get back in without your passport. So I'm freaking out. We do go out there. We go to the basement. They're like,
and it's a run because the station is so big. So to get outside of it all the way out around and then down.
Just sweating and running. And there's a lot of people there. And so we get there and they're like, anyway, they found it. Lost and Found has it in a different area. Someone returned it, thank God. But we already missed our train. So we get back to our spot and I think we're cooked. I mean, I'm very happy that we found it because otherwise it's go find another passport, go to the embassy.
So bad.
It would have ruined the trip.
Been so bad. You need your passport for everything here. For everything. Getting on a train, going to a hotel, fucking going to a spa. You need it for everything.
It would have been quite a disaster. But thankfully they have it, so we get it. And I think we're probably cooked. We're gonna have to get a flight. We're gonna have to do something else. They go, okay, you can get on the faster 300-kilometer-an-hour super train, speed past your other train, and catch up to your original tickets on the first ride, which is crazy and awesome that they suggested it. And so we go, yeah. So we get on a later train. Oh, between we should tell. I gotta tell this story because this is fucking funny. I've been carrying around a basketball. All right, you can talk about whether this is a good thing or a bad thing in a whole different podcast. They'll have a separate Patreon to discuss this.
Hey, think about this at home while you're listening to this. Say you're on a trip with some of your best friends.
Yeah.
And one of them, you have a small group, one of them goes to a store. He buys a basketball at the beginning of the trip and begins to carry around and bounce said basketball everywhere you go for the rest of the trip. How would you feel about that?
You guys are being so...
Dude, you're a terrorist.
If you are in Boston, you just live in Boston, and a Chinese guy's dribbling a basketball, you don't go, oh my God, this guy, what a crazy tourist with his basketball. Nobody cared.
Okay, hold on. Think about this.
1,000-year-old temple.
Think about this.
And you were bouncing a basketball.
I was balling. First of all, let's be clear. I wasn't
it would be
bouncing
like
a basketball. I had handles like nobody's business.
Imagine if we went back to Boston and in Boston, there's no Asian people. And then the first Chinese guy that's showed up in like a couple weeks rolls up and he's dribbling the basketball. It's not about... It's like...
We were not the first white guys in Shanghai.
No, that's not my point. That's not my point. It's not my point.
It's the groundwork for future white basketball players.
It's the idea that you obviously stand out already.
Yeah.
You represent something. It's like you're clearly a foreigner. So
literally every Chinese person who talked to me has made conversation about basketball. Some guy talked to me about Kobe today.
Maybe it's fine.
I think it's fine.
Do you mean the one in the basketball court?
Did you tell him... What's Chinese Google again? Baidu? Baidu. I wonder what happens if you type in Kobe, Colorado on Baidu.
I did not tell him to look up Kobe's history, but he did tell me he likes Kobe Bryant. Anyway, so here's where the basketball comes into play, other than them not happy with it. We are waiting for our second train. And by the way, I do feel like shit because I missed my passport and we have people had to wait on me. And I just felt bad. So I walk away from the group into an open area and I'm just dribbling my basketball
in the middle of the station.
Open
alone
area.
And sad.
In the middle of the station.
There are thousands of people around.
Literally nobody else is caring or looking, but you guys are buttoned up and freaking out. But okay, I'm dribbling my basketball.
No one else is caring except the fucking military official.
This is where it gets weird.
Okay.
So a guy strolls up in an outfit that even our interpreter has not seen. This is not a normal station outfit. He is wearing like a military colonel's hat. Like he looks like he's part of the CCP military. And
he's also tall.
He's tall.
He's just like 6'5".
An extremely stern face, like a naturally resting stern face. Yeah. He walks up to me like confidently and points at, turns out not my basketball, but it looks like he's pointing right at my basketball. And then he points over to the area and then, then he turns into the crowd, like over far from me, but in the stage. And he points at Aiden. And Aiden's face is the funniest face I've ever seen. Aiden goes a pure look of horror, number one, and I don't know this guy. I've never met him.
I did not do that. I did not do that.
He was trying to sell me out, throw me under the bus, bro. He was
think about this. Think about this. Your white friend in the middle of this train station in the middle of China is bouncing a basketball, and the scariest looking man you've ever seen walks up to him, motions, and then from across the room locks eyes with me, points at me, and then points away like, come with me. And in that moment, I am thinking, oh, Brandon's basketball has just sent me to prison. And
by the way, I'm also kind of freaking out because this guy's face, I swear to God, this guy's face is not, I smile at him like, hey, what's up? Stern. Like,
does not smile back.
Did you mention Kobe? Did you
I
mention
was
the
like,
Lakers?
Kobe Bryant. So
I was so mad.
So
I was maybe that's some of the most mad I've ever been.
And I look over at Aiden and I'm trying to tell him to get our interpreter, but he is like trying to run away from me and pretend he never heard me.
No, okay, this is why it was such a disaster, is because Stefik wasn't around.
Yeah.
Stefik, Perry, and Doug are off in a different part of the terminal.
So we each
completely split up.
individually came back and then were motioned by this guy from across the entire train station.
And
so I'm like, get Stefik, and I don't know. And then I'm getting pulled over by this guy, and he pulls me away from everyone else to a passport reader, and he like points at it. And again, I think, and it's like next to a gate leading off into nowhere. I think I'm being pulled away. It does feel like that. And then I realize what's going on, which is just that he's trying to help us get on our train, and he's just doing a nice thing. He just hasn't really
he just wants us to, in advance, scan our passport because he knows it's going to be a little slower for us, and we'll just get it done. It was great.
Yeah, it was actually very nice of him. But so we get scanned, and but every single person in our group has to individually be kind of freaked out because they keep coming in.
Because it's one at a time. And then at least two of us are looking concerned near this tall military guy.
Also, this is not a normal thing because I also looked at the faces of
bouncing a basketball in the middle of a train terminal is not a normal thing.
Regular Chinese people around. No, they were not worried about the basketball. They did think something was going on. Like they also looked a little bit like, what the hell's happening? So anyway, we did get on our speeder train. We caught up, which I think is just cool. I think it's just incredibly cool.
It's like a moment in a movie. It's like we missed our train, so we just got on the faster one and caught up to it.
We caught up to it, and
we caught up to a 200-kilometer-hour train.
No, with the 300-kilometer-hour train.
Got there 30 minutes before we had time to kill. That's why you were bouncing the basketball.
Yeah,
it's like we were bored waiting for the slow ass train to catch
if
up.
only their trains were slower, I wouldn't be bouncing the basketball.
Support for this show comes from Tasty Trade.
Guys, I'm getting real tired of you not knowing serious financial terms on this show, okay? Steve Eisman comes on and we can't even explain ourselves in the complicated financial ways. We seem like chumps.
Is Bitcoin a money?
This is the problem, Aiden. So I came up with a quiz to test you on your financial knowledge.
I've
You're
got
going to
this
tell
on
me
lock.
if these are real or fake, okay?
Okay, these are financial terms.
Yes.
Okay.
The Lady Macbeth strategy, is that real or
That's
fake?
a chess opening. That's not real.
That's real for sure.
It's real.
Really?
It's real.
Okay.
Yes.
Everyone knows that.
What about momentum canceling?
Momentum cancel. That's from Melee.
Fake.
Yeah, it's from Melee. All right, what about a broken wing butterfly?
That's gotta be. It's too weird to be made up.
That feels like it's real. Feels like it's
That's
real.
a fair point. That's a fair point.
Okay, it is real. So you guys are getting some of these right.
Brandon, what does it mean?
Let's not focus too much on the details. You know who could explain it really well?
Probably like
Tasty Trade, because they have an actual jargon library that breaks down these terms, help you understand so you can trade with understanding.
Wow. Are you saying I could go to tastytrade.com/lemonade today and that Tasty Trade Inc. is a registered broker dealer?
That's exactly what I'm saying. You finally got it.
Okay,
yeah,
I'm
exactly
picking
what
up
I'm
on it.
saying.
And it's a member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC.
Well, hold on. Is it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm in. I'm in. Thank you, Tasty Trade, for supporting the show.
Guys, I've been waiting for a call every day here from Xi Jinping. And he hasn't done it yet. And I think part of it is that when I see a number I don't recognize, I hang up. I'm scared of picking it up. But if I had a program that would allow me to take all of my spam calls and filter them with AI to know who was calling me and for what reason, that would actually be pretty helpful.
Sorry, I've just been scrolling through all of my messages and emails across all these different apps on my phone right now.
Yeah, but it's taking all your time and you seem like a loser. So if you were to get Quo, spelled Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications, which over 90,000 businesses use, you could make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free.
And no leader of a country.
No.
Don't let him slip away.
We won't.
Try Quo for free. Let's
get
get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lemonade. That's QUO.com/lemonade. Quo. No missed calls. No missed customers. No missed. One thing about the trains, and I've noticed a lot of the buildings and infrastructure here in general, is we're on this incredible 300-kilometer train catching up to that one, right? And on that train, the inside of it is honestly not super nice. And I don't mean this as a big critique.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a theme across what I'm seeing of the projects or buildings or infrastructure here where they don't, like, I'm not on the nicest subway you've ever seen or the nicest high-speed rail you've ever seen or the best bus you've ever seen, but they exist and they work and they serve their purpose. And I feel like that is a theme of the buildings and infrastructure specifically.
I've had that thought many times. In fact, even you guys said Shanghai was incredibly clean. I thought Shanghai was a very clean city compared to Los Angeles, for example. But I thought Tokyo is significantly cleaner. But what I got from Shanghai is that like it has everything is just functional and works. That's what I did not get the sense of like it was insane. It was like off the charts on any one metric. It was just that they've got all the stuff you need for a functional modern city that serves a lot of people. And here in Chengdu, I feel the same way. I just think they've I don't know. That is the impressive part is they've gotten all the roadblocks out of the way to like get the majority of people moving and doing things, and things are relatively very clean.
Consumer electronics or consumer stuff.
I would say
that's where you're like, when we went to the Huawei store and saw their trifold phone. You bought your Huawei earbud things. We're seeing these cars that are just like mind blowing. So it's consumer tech. It is just like
consumer tech, robotics,
so much
EVs.
Farther than we have.
There's definitely cutting edge on that.
The difference I would describe is if you've been to a city like, or I don't know, like Amsterdam or Utrecht or like, I don't know, like Zurich or something. I feel like the things are like nicer there. And in Chengdu, it's like there's still huge intersections. There's still a lot of like traffic. It's not like you're watching this perfectly designed like Dutch city you saw in some YouTube video, but everything just gets the job done. It's so sick.
Yeah, I would say that. That's what I've been impressed with. There's the ability to get the job done for a lot of people.
You guys want to hear some fun train stats?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
So, we talk all about this high-speed rail stuff. So I was looking into how exactly did it grow to this point, right? So there's like some key... So we talked to this guy on the train, again, who slept in your guys' car. And then in the morning, Stevik and I were sitting out in like the hallway, and he just struck up a conversation. We talked about a bunch of stuff. So the highway system is like clearly a point of national pride, right? And he's talking about how he takes it every week for work, that tons of people do, and you take it all the time for trips. Like you just do a day trip because 1 hour on a high-speed rail, I mean, it's the equivalent. You can go to Los Angeles to San Diego in 40 minutes in 300 kilometers. You can go LA to San Francisco in 2 hours, New York City to Miami in 6.5, right? Like the amount of area that you can visit in like an hour is just like massively expanded. And I was like, oh, in California, we're 18 years into our train. We haven't built any yet. You said, that demonstrates incompetence. I think was the word he said. Yeah. He was just like laughing at us like, oh, you're very incompetent. Okay. So quick history of the Chinese rail. Basically none that was really, coherent or usable or connected through the end of World War II, just because Civil War, like colonial powers are doing stuff, all these different problems. There were some, but not a ton. So then Mao comes in, they do a giant build out, and they actually get up to 33,000 miles of railway by 1978, which is huge. That's a lot, and I'll give some exact numbers later. But then in the kind of like modern reform era, they keep adding until 1997, they get to 44,000 miles. And then basically from 1997 to 2007, they start doing these nationwide campaigns to speed up all the rail. So they're like going to the existing railway infrastructure and upgrading it. They do speed up campaigns. And so they start getting the trains to go like 100 to 120 miles an hour on their upgraded track. So this is like by 2007, right? This is 20 years ago. And then over the past 20 years, right as the Great Recession hits, they do massive, massive subsidies and start pouring tons of money into national infrastructure. So then it just skyrockets. So in 2007, they're like 48,000 miles, and they have 400 miles of dedicated high-speed rail. 3 years later, they have an additional 9,000 miles of track with 5,000 miles of high-speed rail. By 2017, it's 81,000 miles, 17,000 of which are high-speed rail. And now 2023, like a late concrete number, over 100,000 miles of track with 28,000 miles of high-speed rail track, which is more than the entire rest of the world combined. So just to give a sense, the last 40, 50 years, they went from 33,000 miles of okay infrastructure track that's slow to now 100,000 with 28 of high-speed rail. US, by comparison, we actually have a shitload of railway. I didn't know that. We had 250,000 miles in 1916. That's just because it was like all over the place. And it's actually gone down.
Pioneers in rail back when rail was early.
Yeah.
1800s.
Basically from 1916 onwards, it's just been plummeting. And so now 2023, by comparison, again, China has 100,000 miles with 28,000 of which are high-speed rail. We have 137 miles of track, but 0 high-speed rail. And that's basically all freight. So that's not like really passenger line. We have Amtrak, kind of, which is in America, that's the line you use if you want to get somewhere as a passenger. But even then, they're renting the freight line. So it's a bunch of private companies running freight track rather than, what's happening here where the Chinese government is managing the whole thing. Numbers by comparison, Japan has 15,000 miles of conventional track, 1,800 miles of Shinkansen. So if you just Japan is so famous for the Shinkansen and the high-speed rail, and it's 1.8 thousand miles of high-speed rail. Wow. China has more than 15 times the amount of high-speed rail. And that's been happening over the last 40 years that they've just outbuilt. France has 18,000 miles total with 1,700 miles of high-speed rail. Spain is doing pretty solid. They have 9,600 miles and 1,800 of which is high-speed rail. So there are these periods in Chinese history, and it's particularly from 1997 to 2007, they started expanding infrastructure. And then since Great Recession, they're like, we are massively investing in this, and they've just gone absolutely fucking crazy. So history is nuts. And now it's like a flywheel, right? Like if you have this much of your economy and system that is able to build this with that level of expertise, like it just keeps speeding up, right? Like it gets cheaper. And of course, very notable thing, you don't have to do land acquisition battles. The government, you don't have to deal with local governments. You don't have to do budget fights and legislation. You don't have environmental law review stuff. You can just build.
You just chop through
which is the obvious caveat to all of this, which is that there is not stakeholders around the country who get to really talk about it. But
I think the barriers are different.
Any one of those things individually, you could argue is a good idea, and we did it in America. But when you add them all up, you end up what we have, which is so much red tape has choked our ability to build things on grand projects.
Yeah.
So clearly there's a problem. I will say, I don't know the specifics on my understanding is you do get paid a market rate if you have land that is in the way of a project here in China. They just pay you, but you have to take the payout.
Yeah.
There is no option. You get paid out. And so you can make the argument that somebody lost their grandfather's farm or whatever, but this is what they do to build gigantic projects that get done on time and they're good at it. And so it's trade-offs that people should think about more in America is maybe we need some of that, or at least to cut back on some of the regulations we put in place on those areas because
anybody can stop
everybody
everything.
Can lawsuit to stop it. And so, it's interesting. What else have we,
one
different
thing,
direction?
I think the surveillance is interesting.
Oh yeah.
How visible it is. And apparently the most obvious it is in Beijing. And we won't even see that.
Yeah.
So just being in Shanghai and then even in Chengdu, if you've ever been in a Las Vegas casino, it is honestly very reminiscent of that. There are cameras everywhere, especially inside buildings, but there's a ton outside as well. And aside from the fact that it exists, I think the reactions from people about it, one woman that Stefik talked to, noted that it's so it's literally called Skynet, is so good. It keeps everybody so safe. There's all this accountability for traffic infractions, theft. A lot of the person at the university we were speaking with noted the fall in a lot of major crime in China and attributes a lot of it to this enforcement mechanism.
Your fucking American passport was on the ground somewhere in a train station. It was just returned to information.
Yeah. I think someone just handed it in, but yeah.
I think that reaction of people have a confidence in the way that it benefits life here. It is in juxtaposition of the American view of it being so intrusive and painful.
Yeah, I'll say it. My thoughts on it are a little dystopian that's called Skynet, and you see cameras everywhere you go, 100%. I will say the area where it clearly is just a net good, and we should probably adopt at least this area, is cameras regarding traffic. So they have cameras on every intersection everywhere. And the idea is if you are speeding, if you cross the line and whatever, you get a small ticket every time. And so the way he was talking about it was if they have a rule, they have to do it. There's just
it's funny because I actually want to push back against this.
Okay.
the traffic here is insane. Not necessarily in the quantity, but in the way that traffic flows. People don't, I don't really feel like crosswalks are a great right of way here for pedestrians. People just drive ahead and like don't really look at you. In Chengdu, there's been like a ton of honking. It's interesting to me because all of these things seem to be acknowledged by people we talk to. They recognize that, I wouldn't necessarily step out in front of a car with confidence on a crosswalk like you would in many parts of the US. But apparently it is such a substantial upgrade and difference from what it used to be. And that is because of the camera infrastructure. So it's funny to be like, oh, it's so good here. When to me, honestly, it's one of the worst parts about being here.
Only thing I felt it for is scooters. For scooters,
the cars are
but
great.
that's part of it. That's part of it. The cars and the scooters are absolutely
they're in
problematic.
different lanes, and the scooters literally just ignore the area they should be in. The scooters will drive on pedestrian lanes, on sidewalks. They will cut across. They have to have areas that have like literally barriers and walls to stop scooters from being, and it says no scooter zone, because outside of that, they'll go everywhere. Even Stavik was telling me there's a path along the river that's designed for runners. It's made for runners, it's pink lane. And now the runners have to like literally almost avoid it or go like one side of it because scooters just use it because there is so much pressure. We spoke to a scooter driver, they get paid on delivery and time is very, very important. And if you have a shortcut, if there's any way you can make it, that's what they're going to do. They're going to optimize their time. And so, yeah, I think
it feels like you're playing Frogger when you cross the road. It's awesome.
Yeah. The scooters are truly insane. And what's weird is though, even I guess the cameras aren't hitting them, or I'm not sure how it's worked, but the guy we talked to, he did get a fine for speeding, and he was like, yeah, it's 50 yuan, which is again 7 or 8 trips. So it's like a significant fine, but he still has to do it, I think, for the pressure of that job. So yeah, I think the scooters are very interesting. I think that's actually one of the things that struck me the most that I hadn't heard about too much or knew about, but didn't recognize how prevalent it is. There is multiple scooters almost everywhere you look at all times in the city. They're always traveling. Every shop you go to has a uniformed delivery driver, often picking something up, going out, walking around. It's everywhere at all times. The ubiquity of these app delivery services is kind of at a scale that I haven't seen. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, the delivery driver stuff. We were talking about this kind of consistent like flow and class of delivery drivers that kind of underpins everything in the city. Yeah. Like as you walk into a building, it doesn't matter what type of building it is. There's always delivery drivers walking in, out of it, parking, going. They exist in like all facets of life. They're so present in a way that they aren't in the US, probably because everybody's in cars. And I think it is more popular here, 100%. Partly because of how cheap it is. So you ordered 3 meals one of the nights that we were in Shanghai for $12 US dollars.
$12 US dollars total, including delivery. These were 3 full meals, chicken and rice and vegetables, delivered to our hotel by a guy. And all of it adds up to 12 total. It was an absurd number. Now, we've sort of investigated a bit, and I think part of it is that there is a brutal competition going on between the 3 major delivery companies. And so they are cutting margin to the bone. And that is why we're getting just a truly impossible deals. But it's like, the point is like, if you lived here, and you make, anyone white collar job, I guess, it would be almost absurd to not do delivery because of how insane they've cut the margin to. You can literally get delivery from a million places. Every place has it, and you can get it at absurdly cheap prices. It's like if MoviePass was for everything. It's not
fast. The scooter drivers can get through traffic a lot faster, right?
Yeah.
As cars are backed up in the major cities, they just go right through. Like pedestrians are just suggestions. Like it's super fast.
Yeah.
And then if you're in a hotel, they just deliver it in a robot. They don't even have to it's the whole chain is just ridiculously convenient. If you order to a hotel, the delivery driver will go take it to the hotel counter, the concierge, drop it off. They will then put it in a robot that drives into the elevator. That uses Bluetooth to go to your floor and knocks on your door, and you open it up and the robot hands you the food. This is all for insanely cheap.
It's pretty surreal.
Yeah, it's wild. I will say, here's a debate I want to have. Nothing that I've seen on this trip has dissuaded me from my opinion that China is a not only capitalist country, but almost a hyper-capitalist country that is kind of just beating America at its own game. And I want to know if you have things that disagree with that. I'm reading a literal book called Capitalism right now, and there is people are working jobs for private companies, getting paid in money that they're using to buy their own things. There is literally nothing about it other than the government takes taxes and spends on.
You are a sitcom character. You are a sitcom character. You buy your basketball, you dribble it in the middle of the train station, you lose your passport, you're reading a book that I think is the 2x the size of what the Bible that is literally says capitalism in giant letters on the front of it and brought it to China, whether it be intentional or not.
No, it's not intentional.
Yeah.
But I just, that is what I'm seeing, is that like the privately owned tech companies are out competing. The tax dollars are spent on just better things. Like they're just being smarter with their tax dollars. Like I don't think it's like a fundamental economic system difference. I think it is literally an intelligence of how you are allocating your tax dollars difference. That is
the infrastructure that like we talked about, it's not like the craziest thing ever, but it works and it's well done. I think there's a lot of focus on city services. Well, you guys went and had a different conversation. I just like ran for a long time down the Shanghai River. And as I went farther and farther down, it became less developed and whatnot. But there's still like all these public service workers cleaning random walkways, clearing this area of bamboo, like it's just this endless, just wide system-wide organization of people at this mass scale. And there's that, and then there's insane capitalism on top of it at a level that is like way beyond ours. Not beyond ours, but like is wild a lot of the time.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's necessarily changed my opinion or understanding. I think going into this, from everything we've read and talked about China before, it's like the state is very heavy-handed in picking like the winners and losers of overall industries. Like we're going to allocate assets to benefit public infrastructure or to benefit specific types of companies so that things flow in a certain direction. But if you're a part, it's like the free market or the capitalism part of it is within the industries that they want to see like proliferate and succeed. And I feel like that's what I'm witnessing.
Yeah, I said they're not picking winners and losers. They are picking.
I think they're not picking winners and they're not
yeah.
picking winners and losers within the industries. They're doing everything they can to emphasize successful companies within these spaces and industries, and then compete with each other.
For example, I think the perfect example is the EVs thing, where it's like they're creating laws that emphasize EVs.
Yeah,
the license plates that creates a market for it, and they're saying whoever figures that out can get rich.
I mean, I think
then there's just brutal competition for people to try and get the market share in the EVs area because they've created this massive. Yeah.
My like week in China synopsis of it is like,
I'll tell you, no weed in China.
That was not what I was going to bring up.
That's where Aiden was.
I wasn't going to bring up
been
no
desperate
weed.
for weed since we got here.
What have I been smoking?
You've been eating betel nut.
Too much of a coward. Look, I'll answer the question you're really asking. I would let the CCP run Los Angeles. I think it'd be better.
You specifically said you would let Trump end his term now and give it to Xi Jinping for 3 years at the same time as he's running China. You'd say you'd do it as a side job.
Yeah, I would.
That I didn't disagree with.
What's an extra 300 million people?
Yeah. At that point, it's a rounding error.
It's a rounding error, bro.
The U.S. is a suburb.
We could move them into Shanghai. Have you seen how many buildings there are? There's a lot of buildings, man. We don't have enough in Los Angeles. That way, we keep the character of Los Angeles.
I think what in the country, the government wields the power to make sure that corporate interests can't overwhelm anything. Which it's like, if anything like falls out of line in terms of competition, they have the power to be like this. There's a bunch of billionaires in China.
Yeah,
China has plenty of billionaires.
The second most billionaires in the world.
There's a gigantic wealth gap in China. But anybody who falls out of line or isn't acting in the country's best interest, they can kind of come in and hammer that thing down and change it. And I feel like in the US, it's not the same. Like in the US, corporate money is so tied into politics that the government's ability to effectively influence business in a direction for the country's best interests is not there in the same way. And I'm not saying that doesn't come with trade-offs here or something, but I think that is the difference, is when you see billionaires in China held accountable by the government in a way that I don't think is really possible in the US. I think that's part of the reason that the competition exists in China in the way that it does.
Yeah. I mean, there isn't democracy here. And that is
it's
that is the obvious, clear counterpoint to all this. You know, it's like I think what I've been surprised by on a broad high level is like, holy shit, this is really well done, and so many people's lives are clearly improved. And you can hear it in the way we talk to people and the pride they have for the country. They explicitly say how much better their life is, how convenient it is here. And it's like, in that context, yeah, of course you're going to feel more receptive to that. And it's also weird to be like, if anybody here doesn't like that, they cannot voice that online. We spoke with not only our interpreter, but also the folks who worked at universities, saying how podcasts here will talk about current events, but you don't talk about politicians by name. You just sort of like, like Mr. Jen, like you kind of allude to it, because if you ever start on the nose talking about the political side, then you just get removed, and it's less like dramatic.
Well, just to be clear, like, because I think that was a good thing to clear up.
Yeah, it's
the
not,
idea, you're not getting removed as in you're getting tossed in a prison or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
It's much less
you
dramatic.
can just get deleted. Your content will get deleted. If you have a post that is critical that gets viral, it's deleted.
Yeah.
I think this whole dynamic was really interesting. This was in our conversation with the director from the university, and he explained how he listens to a lot of podcasts, and there's free versions of podcasts and subscribe to versions of podcasts, much like we use Patreon for this show. And in the subscribe versions, people have a comfort with speaking a little more freely about political issues that they don't in the public versions of the show. And it's not that that's not accessible or policeable, because at the end of the day, if you keep poking the bear in the subscribable version, you're still going to be held accountable somehow. But there is a freedom of speaking in those subscribe to podcasts, which
I mean, it's like us. We don't tell you what we really think about Trump till you get our Patreon. We've kept it low key, but when you get to the Patreon, we tell you what we really think.
I talk about how hot Pete Hegseth is on there, and I'm not scared.
It's a total 180.
It's a 180, bro.
But
it is a Tucker Carlson buy, I guess.
We just asked straight up. It was like, what's your thoughts or understanding of people being, thrown in jail or facing consequences for speaking out against the government in China? Like, explain to us how that actually works. And because the government has such an influence or control over social media platforms, which he also added is not direct control. He basically said that the rules of the government are so broad and that there's a lot of incentive for the platforms themselves to police themselves and be really specific in their terms of service and the way you can use these sites and the things you can talk about. And the companies do a lot of the legwork of enforcing more broad rules that the government has put in place. And then if you do overstep the line, like say I go fucking crazy across my social media platforms and I'm really critical of the government and they decide to pull the plug. And the thing is, I lose my access and my influence across all of these platforms at once. So in the US, it's like if I get banned on YouTube, I might be able to communicate and update to my fans through my big Twitter or Instagram following. And people can get an update of like what site to jump to. I can carry on my influence somehow. But in China, once you use your influence on one of these sites, you've lost it on everything. And your ability to rebuild your following isn't really existent. It's like you just pay the price. You're not going to jail, but you've lost all of your influence.
Yeah, I would say, the way you describe companies and the way I see it happen with local governments, it's really more that the high level federal government is pretty broad on setting large macro goals and being kind of vague. They're not doing a lot of things you hear about happening in China. A lot of things that are done on the enforcement level or people choosing to self-censor are done either on the individual level, on the company level, or on the local government. Like all that stuff is them trying to adapt to these larger goals.
Yes, but like we read a book and the university person mentioned that like more and more party representatives have to be in every company. Like that is increasing over the past like decade.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
There is more of a sense. I mean, for context, you literally have to, with a company of any size, have multiple like CCP members who are party members who are there to make sure the interests of the party are represented at your company and they're at a high level in your company. That is way different than the government's like, do whatever you want. Am I crazy? Like that feels like extreme totally heavy-handedness.
Yeah. I think you're totally right. I mean, it'd be similar to what's happening with Intel right now in America. But yeah, I'd say like,
are we installing like Trump party members? Is Barron working at Intel?
Geopolitical goals of America, which is to build certain things within the American border, which why they're propping them up and forcing them to do like that's.
I guess that's true. He mentioned how before it was like his office was kind of like separate, and it was, again, not to cross the line, but don't go too far. But now it's like you're literally in like different administration groups are being like you're in the same building in the same room in the university now, and the CCP party member is there in the same room. There's just like more, and it goes up and down. He said depending on.
But even the party members,
tides.
I'm talking about, the party member is probably someone from the local government, right? Not like, I think.
Okay, here's an example I can think of that kind of supports what you're saying. It's actually the social credit system that gets talked about a lot.
We should clear this up,
we've joked and talked about this on this trip a little bit, but basically the way that started is broad requests from I guess you call it the federal government, the central government, came in, and the social credit system, as it was floated around in the US, was an example of more local government trying to take these like broad stroke goals or rules from the central government and employing a policy in one specific place. Was it a specific city, right? And then trying this sort of like social credit-esque system out where like officials would like note good deeds or bad deeds and like try to build something out of that. But it didn't actually work, and it never expanded out of that one place. And that expanded into this news story of the social credit system as we know it in the US. But that admittedly stuff I've just like read and watched, this is an example of how the central government in China works, is they'll roll out some new goals or things that they want to change in broad terms, and then let local government officials approach tackling that problem as they wish.
Yeah, I'll give a specific, because it goes back to the open cloth thing. So the big Chinese 5-year plan meeting just happened very recently. And one of the things they walked away from saying is that one of our big goals for the next 5 years is to be a world leader in AI. AI is a big goal of the Communist Party for China. And so all the local governments are given that goal and said, figure it out. Help your area of the country be a leader. And so a lot of local government money is going towards funding things that have to do with boosting AI productivity or whatever in the area, which is why many companies or areas are using this open cloth thing, because they can get local government funding to be a leader in that. That's how it trickles down from like broad idea to local government money to actual action. And so they did that with EVs, and that is why EV factories popped up in all different parts of China, and there was huge competition because they said that's a goal. It's a broad goal. Local government figure it out. Local governments give subsidies to EVs or create the license plate law. And like the license plate law starts in a city and it works, and so everyone goes, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Yeah,
so that's how.
It was stressed to us that these local places that try something become testing grounds for laws that can be applied at scale across like the whole country. I think one of the downsides to that too is you often hear these stories of how much debt China has actually taken on, and it's also a result of this system. From my understanding, is like local government officials take on debt in order to build large infrastructure projects that the public still benefits from, right? But the debt is accumulating in China in a different way, where local officials are choosing to spend this money, and the debt accumulates at a local level, which is like tracked differently. So the amount of debt that China has is actually much, much larger than the central government shares, because a lot of the debt is held by like specific areas of the country or like by these local positions or parties.
They have local debt and we have national debt. I will say, like, at the end of the day, it does seem like they got more for their debt. Like they and there's arguments you can make, and I'm sure you've heard them about overcapacity, overbuilding. I will say that the having been around here a few days now, not really anything deep, but we talked to the guy whose dad worked in construction. The Evergrande thing is, there is a reality to that, in that construction on some buildings we've seen pass by has frozen and stopped, and there is so much capacity. So if the population is shrinking, there's just so much housing. So housing prices are shrinking, and because the stock market is not a place most Chinese have put their savings, people's retirement savings that are in housing is slowly going down because the price is going down. I think they're unwinding the bubble in a pretty smart way from what I've heard and seen, in that like they had a real estate bubble, they knew they had to fix it, and they are like slowly deflating it to where it's not causing chaos. But it is happening. There's clearly, and the people we talk to that aren't in the areas that are thriving, which are EVs, robotics, AI, areas are crushing, are saying there's fewer jobs. we were seeing that there's like a job slowdown outside of the areas that are crushing.
Well, the one young kid, the delivery driver, he was from a different part of the country. He was from Hunan, and he said the reason he left is he literally cannot find work back home. And even if he could, he said that job would pay a lot less than like delivery driver in Shanghai.
He's like, yeah, me and my 5 friends just moved to Shanghai to look for work. So that was, it was interesting.
To be fair, there is the scale of the buildings and infrastructure is so massive, but I have yet to take binoculars and see if there's people living in these things. You know what I mean? It could all be like, let's be clear. What I can definitely confirm, having seen 0.5% of China, is that there's a fuckload of buildings.
Just a fuckload.
Like it's New York City times 100.
Whatever
it's not just it's a little bit. It's like bigger than anything you could possibly imagine. And then maybe there's people in it. It could be like this.
I think in Chengdu there's people
in the cities.
I don't know. What I'm saying is, have you proven it? Have you done real investigative journalism, or you just
we go unit by unit?
What you heard?
Let's go and knock on doors unit by unit with my basketball, and we're gonna ask him about Kobe Bryant.
I activate my Alex Jones voice.
Okay,
do people even live in these buildings?
We're staying in this for $100 a night. This is a 2-bedroom fucking apartment in a condo building. Okay, where like this is obscenely nice, and that points to nobody lives in this building. All right, let me just say.
No, it does point to.
I think it points to a lot of supply.
A crazy amount of supply.
No, actually, dude. Again, this very anecdotal. I'm curious to see more of this, but it does feel like there's such a focus on building, and it seems excessive. At this like spa thing we went to yesterday, it was like one of the nicest spa things I've seen, and it just keeps going. It's like, oh, there's an outdoor area. The outdoor area has a movie area, and it has another bar, and it has karaoke, and it has soccer. Over here, here's the gaming
here's the PC cafe.
Here's the PC cafe. Here's the like fighting stick. Here's 5 different steam rooms. Here's the rock room. It just keeps going and going. And then this buffet that we went to was like incredible. It was like, oh, if you're here, you get a buffet at 5 p.m. or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And there were not nearly enough people for all the food there. I don't know if you guys noticed
where
that.
I felt this was
when we went downstairs and there's 3 people waiting by the door while we wait for our Uber. There's like 5 people down there. In America, that would be 1 person maybe.
Yeah.
And this whole complex had maybe 30 customers?
No, but in the malls, did you feel that? We were in some of the nicest, largest malls I've been in my life. Spotless malls, floor to ceiling, filled with all full stores. The traffic on a weekend was like...
Yeah, this was a weekend yesterday.
Tiny. It was like nothing... it's just crazy. And
I think it just wasn't full. I think it felt normal.
So I think it's a...
Barry's making a face at you. I think... I've seen malls that are dead that have more people per. I thought it wasn't. I'm not saying it's dead. You're probably getting an image from what I'm saying that it's dead. I'm just saying the size versus you're never touching another person. There's plenty of room.
It's like relative.
Yeah, and we're in multiple malls. We're like they're not that far from each other.
Until we went to the food trade show, at which point it was
the busiest.
Okay,
shit.
All right, so leading into that, so we're on the train.
Okay.
Many strange experiences are stemming off of man we slept next to on the train. So one of the things he said is that he travels back and forth. He works for a food company, and there's a trade show in Chengdu that's happening that day. And he's like, if you guys go in there and say you work for a foreign food company, you'll be treated like VIPs. Turns out we don't have to say that we have a foreign food company.
We didn't say it.
We
said the opposite.
Explicitly said we are not a company. But the fact that we are just like foreigners was very exciting. And so we went into this place, and it was like a convention like in any other country that is way too full.
Shoulder to shoulder.
And I got shoveled a bag of the best rice crackers I've ever seen. I kind of dragged the whole group because a woman came up and was very excited to talk and
tell you how powerful her company was.
Yes, and she said we do 40 crates of rice crackers a month, and I have friends in America, and Americans, I like you because of your outgoing personality, and we're friends now, and I want you to meet the boss,
and we are powerful.
The big boss of the rice cracker company is here today. And I was like, wow, that's impressive, guys. We got to go. And she gave me all these things, and we're now friends on WeChat, and I am promising right now, okay?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to disappoint her, that I'm going to calculate how much money I personally take home from a weekly Patreon episode. And I'm telling Susanna on WeChat, this is my budget. Send me this many rice crackers to our studio in Los Angeles.
We're gonna get so much. We're gonna get so much.
I don't know if I'm gonna.
We're gonna get so much, and it's not because the amount of money he makes from that episode is that much. I want to stress that
it's probably like 1,000 or something, because this would be after
Because we're buying bulk prices. You're buying wholesale
No,
cost.
exactly. That's what I'm saying, dude. Even if if it's like a few $100s, it's going to be an obscene amount of rice crackers.
And I think it's going to be more than a few $100s. So I've committed. We haven't done the calculations. I'm fully committing to this. I'm going to make it happen. And all I'm saying is that she pointed out, again, we were very clear. We're not a food distribution company, but she kept saying.
We said it so many times.
And I was like, oh, but we make videos. We make YouTube videos. She's like, oh, okay. But you could start selling food. And like
she
so what we could do is open up the office.
Food entrepreneurs.
Okay, we have our little studio space, and I could
run.
run a rice cracker business out of there. And they're very good. They're honestly very good.
Yeah,
I
they
want
are
to
good.
thank Almeda Wongzi for the lovely rice crackers.
You might be having a thought if you're listening to this. She kept saying powerful. And maybe it's just like a mistranslation. Like maybe she doesn't mean like why would she stress that word so much? Maybe she just doesn't know that much English. Like it's fine.
Sure.
No, when Stefik interviewed her for us, she kept using the word powerful in Chinese.
Yeah.
She just
a
kept
powerful
talking about
word.
how
She wanted us to know
powerful the
how
rice
40
cracker company
crates
was.
of rice crackers a month. She told me that 3 times, which does not sound that impressive.
You know what I was thinking is like we're in this multi-floor building, right? And the first floor is the most packed one for obvious reasons. She kept saying powerful. She took us to the 4th floor.
We were top
and
floor.
It's like, oh, I meant that's the worst floor to be on. This is the hardest one to get to.
Oh, but that's
no,
where the boss
it's the
is, dude.
elites.
Up the top.
That's actually
That's
the big
the
boss.
leader.
No, that's completely wrong.
Well, on the third
That's a
floor, I went to,
ridiculous thing to say, and that's insulting to the big boss.
My fault.
Of
I went to a
Mita Wongzi
Mandarin
Rice Company.
Orange booth, and we found out that it was like 13% of the world's Mandarin oranges go through this company. They're like the largest exporter of fruit in the world. It was crazy.
It was fascinating to be in this. Like, so the idea is all these food companies trying to pitch to a potential retailer of like what their food is. That was the context, and then we are just randomly in there walking around.
If we were like buyers for Walmart, we would have been treated like God. I mean,
Yeah.
we were already given
Right,
like,
we
royal
were
treatment.
treated
Yeah.
as kings, and
Yeah.
we would kind of ascend to some sort of divinity that people would like be unable to look directly at us. Yes,
Everyone handing you juice every 3 feet. That was a really cool experience that happened kind of randomly by happenstance.
Boys, this hotel room, look at the skyline.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this beautiful city we're in. I can't believe we got here. I just didn't think Madrid would look like this. And if you're visiting Madrid or say somewhere else, somewhere in South America, to other parts of Spain,
Europe.
for instance, you might want to learn something like Spanish. And with a Babbel, there's plenty of options to learn plenty of different languages. One of the best places that you could learn Spanish from, I've heard people have plenty of success with Babbel over competing apps.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, you speak a little Spanish. I think you could work on it.
I do need to work on it because of my wife's family, but I have been using Babbel instead of its leading competitor, and I won't say the name, but you may know it from its stupid mascot.
If you want to start speaking a new language in 3 weeks, go to babbel.com/lemonade and you'll get up to 60% off your subscription. That's up to 60% off your subscription when you use our link. Join the millions of Babbel learners breaking the language barrier every day and babbel.com/lemonade. This has been Dread.
support from this show comes from yes, dude, Anthropic. Yes, go ahead, Aiden.
So I've been using AI for a while to help with things like research for the show. It's how I find a lot of like data and links offsite to prep for how we do this and talk about subjects with each other, which is cool. It's been super, super helpful for me. It's been helpful with like language translation, to have conversations, to like practice Swedish and things like that. And I recently unsubscribed from the one I had used for a while, and I started using Claude by Anthropic, and I've been super, super happy with it, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I use AI primarily for learning, and listen, the one thing I hate about a lot of LLMs is their tendency to overly glaze you or overly be complimentary. And this is Anthropic and Claude is the one I found to be the most direct and honest and just do the job. And that's been a breath of fresh air for me.
You guys know how I feel. Are you ready to tackle bigger problems?
I was going to say, Doug doesn't have any experience with this. Ready to tackle bigger problems? Get started with Claude today at claude.ai/lemonade. That's claude.ai/lemonade. And check out Claude Pro, which includes access to all of the features mentioned in today's episode.
Claude.ai/lemonade.
What is an LLM?
It's okay, buddy.
You'll catch it. You'll figure it out.
All right, another funny little tidbit I thought was interesting. Coming from Train Man, when we talked to Train Man, he mentioned a quote to me, which is he kind of randomly was like, "Oh, you heard we're Americans." Like, "Oh, it seems like I forget." The first thing was, I believe, going into Iran was a mistake. They're much more powerful.
Yeah, I have.
They're much more powerful than Trump realized. And I like felt a little embarrassed by this because I'm like, oh man, going around the world, does everybody think we're like a bunch of war hungry, crazy lunatics? And he was then followed up and said like, but I think most Americans don't really like Trump, or they think he's crazy. And I was like, yeah, I don't. And I think most people don't. I think probably 75% of people think he's crazy or that this is a bad idea. And he laughed and he said, I think it's 90%. So his view is like an average Chinese citizen who has not left China, but is very proud of the country, as I learned over the course of this conversation, is Trump's like this crazy guy, and 90% of people hate him, but he's doing his wacky thing. And then mentioned a couple other kind of analysis of the rest of the world that felt a little bit uninformed. I don't want to say uninformed, very China-pilled, maybe is the way to.
Very China-pilled.
I think there was nothing more. It was interesting because I feel like the way he talked about global and political issues, I feel like he was informed in the sense that I knew what his American counterpart looked like in the US. Someone who's relatively like tapped into news and events and does pay attention to this stuff.
Nightly news.
Yeah.
Like that vibe.
And it can have like a nuanced conversation about it, but clearly has like a very focused perspective from the media he watches, which is kind of, which is everybody. Like it was interesting to meet.
Yeah, one of the things where I was like, that seems a little off is he's like, the Ukraine, I forget the exact wording, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like the Ukraine and Russia war, it's not really a war. It's just about selling oil. And I was like,
it's a war.
I was like, it's I don't know. It's a war. And then another one was, if we just got rid of nuclear weapons, then there would be peace. Then wars would be over. And I was like, I also don't know. There was actually famously a lot of war before nuclear weapons.
Yeah, there's a good argument that would be the opposite.
Right. And I at this point, this is 7 a.m. off of a sleeper car sleep. I feel like shit. And we're translating through Stefik. And I'm not going to be like, well, actually, I think some of the
let's get into this.
Yeah. And so, but I did think this was interesting. And then the line that super stuck out to me was he said, no country on earth loves peace more than China. And I was like, that is so fascinating because that's not really the American version, right? The American version is China is being aggressive and blah, 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 blah. And so I like thought about it. So I looked into it. All right, let me give you guys some numbers. So I basically started to research this question of, is China more peaceful than any other like great empire or power historically? And let's say past like 500-ish years to like narrow it down, right? Who do you think's the most? Who has invaded the most foreign countries?
What can I say? It's the Brits.
It's the British.
They bring
you're proud.
Dude.
You love those Brits, don't you? All right, so
leaderboard, scoreboard.
People don't do it like them, dude.
Scoreboard. It's right up there.
So there's a book called from a British person, all the countries we've ever invaded and a few we never got around to. Of the 193 countries that are recognized by the UN, at some point British has invaded 171. There are only 22 countries on Earth that they have not invaded at some point.
That is goat status.
God, it is truly impressive. French Empire, they had 80, and these are all, kind of estimates depending on how you define war, right?
And define country, because like a lot of the countries they invaded have changed since.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's just in terms of, but yes, so some caveats here, but general idea of like French Empire, 80 times they've gone into other countries and invaded. US, we're at only 68, more peaceful than the French. Unfortunately, we're not very old, so we're a little more dense.
We're getting it done quicker.
In the amount
if
of
you're
invasions.
at home, don't do the math.
Yeah.
It's like Cooper flag, dude.
USA still in our Cooper flag.
We're getting
generational talent.
We're putting up big numbers in 19, dude. We're putting up big numbers,
dude. But we're probably, Trump's going to tear our ACL and we're going to bomb out hard. All right, and then
Strait of Hormuz is our ACL.
Yeah. And then by the same, kind of definition of this war stuff, China would be at 12. Like just, massively small. And so if you are a Chinese citizen,
is this a sincere question? Is this China as in post World War II CCP takes over as that version of China?
The past 500 years.
Okay, you're talking about 500 years of China.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So not going to ancient times where like, I'm not even including like Mongol, times here. Because then that even skews it because then it's like the Mongols are.
So this is 500
I'm not an expert. And I think these numbers are, don't get me wrong, these numbers are a little damning. if you think about them. I would like to say, though, that China, like famously, in a historical context, kept to themselves. And there was a lot of wars in China between Chinese people.
Yes.
So I think...
So I thought it was interesting if you kind of look at the type of aggression that China is criticized for in the West, what it almost always is, let's say in the last 70 years, is it's China saying, this is our historical border and we're going to enforce it in a way that other people are like, we don't think that's your historical border. Famously Tibet in 1950, that they went and invaded and basically took Tibet, right? But like that was them saying Tibet has historically been part of the greater Chinese empire and influence. And of course, there's a whole lot of discussion around that. But if you are in like, well, that is our historical border, then that feels less of a war and more of we're restoring this after World War II, after the century of humiliation. Korean War was like sort of justifiably defensive. Many asterisks there, obviously, but that's like the U.S. is like sweeping up through Korea. There's skirmishes with India. There's skirmishes with Vietnam. A couple of these are like harder to defend. There's the South China Sea stuff of, saying here's the 9- line and now the 10- line that's including whatever else. But if you are sort of like, look, this is us reclaiming historical boundaries over a long period of time, I could completely understand why that would feel like this isn't really aggression. Whereas to many other people around the world, they would go, well, actually, we believe this country has this area and therefore. And so I thought that was pretty interesting of it's depending on how you view this. Certainly, I think without question, China does not have nearly the same history in modern time of go to another country and just fucking get in there. And like, we do this quite a lot. And like,
but we always had a good reason.
It's just, you just think about how many times we've done this year. How many times we've done this?
Fuck it. We're putting up that's
generational numbers.
It's so fascinating to me that in the West we're like, China's so aggressive. And then, to a person here, it's like, we have stuck to our fucking selves. We're reclaiming the ancient history that we've had for thousands of years, and that's it. And you go around bombing and stealing from whatever country you want. Of course, you would feel like this.
I mean, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I want to, as a result of this trip, I want to like really dive into some more Chinese history because this is obviously the mainstream news version of it.
Sure, yeah.
I just think it's fascinating the way you might view geopolitics. And this guy was very respectful about it. He was just like, one of the lines was like, I think it's very silly how America keeps going deeply in debt and spending money on wars. You should do it like us and spend it on infrastructure for your country. And I was like, yeah, that fucking makes sense. Yeah, actually.
No, that's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, speaking
is that
of
like correct? Like, yeah, roughly it's all through our interpreter, obviously.
Iran war. I wanted to bring up, as I've spent a ton of time on Chinese social media and Weibo and just brain rotting and scrolling it.
I want to give you credit, right?
Yeah.
You have done more journalism like with the people than any of us because you all the time are scrolling on Chinese social media and hitting translate. I'm not even kidding. You have really gotten in there.
No, I'm reading what they're thinking. And it actually is just a great way of seeing like what is trending right now and what are people talking about. And it is in a way that would not be the case scrolling Instagram or anything. A third of content, it feels like, is about the Iran war. Like it is talked about a lot. There is a lot of stuff about it. And bad, of course.
They don't like it?
Of course, bad. But and most of the comments, again, I'm clicking random comments and just translating. I'm going down the whole thing. It's a lot of just kind of making fun of how badly this is going, of how Trump is kind of like, for example, I saw. Again, but it's always put up in an almost cartoonish way. Like they'll have an AI video of like a cartoon Trump like tripping into a well or something. Like it's kind of wild. But then all the comments will be like, "Yeah, this is a really stupid idea." And recently Trump made this is like as we're recording recently. He's like, "Hey, if the next 48 hours, if you don't allow free passage of tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, I'm going to start blowing up electricity grids in Iran." Which, first of all, insane thing to do.
I think we're the second most peaceful nation.
Great Britain would have done it too. Right? But the thing was that Iran's response was like, go ahead. We're not going to change, which then puts us on a clock. We're coming up near the end of this 48 hours. And it's seeming likely that Trump won't actually do it, which then becomes a kind of embarrassing thing. And all of the comments are kind of just pointing out that it's like, they know he's not going to do it. Like nothing's going to happen. Like it's a real loss of credibility that I'm seeing on the ground, like from a regular person's level.
If Trump doesn't take care of this, his reputation will be damaged.
But you know what's funny is I think that's genuinely happening. Obviously, it's happening in America. But from what my understanding is that there's some people in China that thought Trump was a better leader in his first term. They thought he was kind of like someone you could respect, or they had less of understanding. But he is proving to be more of a, I don't know if the word's paper tiger or whatever, but like just it's not. There's an emptiness to his threats and his bluster that is more revealed to regular people in this, from what I'm seeing on social media. And I'm reading a lot of comments.
Yeah. The rest of the world is like, has their shit together, and Trump's walking around in the middle of them bouncing a basketball.
Yeah, sort of like that, but in a much different way, because that would be
dropping
cool.
his passports.
That would be very cool, actually.
When the guy said, I think, he like laughed and was like, I think 90% of Americans think Trump is crazy. I was like, do you think we didn't vote for him? Do you think he's a dictator? Because that's great for me, right? I'll be like,
it's 90.
Couldn't do anything. We all hated him, but he got in there and grabbed the golden idol, and power was restored to his body. Like,
that would be one way to do it.
I think we have, there'll be a lot more to talk about on the Patreon episodes than the other. We're going to do one more episode in China while we're here.
I got one more little thing, which is, this is sincere, okay? So 2 days ago, when we were driving to the train station to come to Chengdu, this is in the middle of Shanghai, greater population of 80 million people. This is a bafflingly large city. And we drive through an area that, you can see back here behind us, right? Tons of giant buildings all over the place. And we're in the nicest car I've ever been in. My arms are resting on top of an iPhone for no reason, which is what will allow me to move the chair back if I want.
I'm playing Flappy Bird.
You're playing Flappy Bird. Mm-hmm. And I notice, all three of us did, Perry and Stefik, that it is, we pull up to a stoplight and it is dead silent. It is dead silent, and it's noticeable because we can hear birds chirping next to us. It sounded as though we were in like in a park somewhere like way out in the forest. It was like beautiful. This is gonna sound stupid and sentimental, but it was genuinely like beautiful to me, because it made me feel like maybe the development of humanity with our infrastructure and technology, maybe it isn't just towards an increasingly destructive version of the world. Maybe it isn't just destroying nature and making everything worse and louder. Like, it felt serene in that moment. It is dead quiet in, not as much Chengdu, but like in a lot of the cities, because
honking.
The cars are electric. Honking seems to largely been reduced. Even the amount of honking you guys are talking about, this is 100 times less than New York City, right? And it just sounds weird, but it was like I'm in the middle of a mega dense city in a country that you're always told is like the biggest contributor to, pollution and all these things. And those are true, right? But in the middle of one of the biggest cities in the fucking world, it is dead silent. You're hearing birds chirp all around you, and it just felt serene. And I was like, maybe the future, as we keep building, expanding, doesn't have to be awful and loud and dirty.
Yeah, I thought a funny point on this story is, went through one of the intersections we were in Shanghai, there was a board, and it said it was cars over 80 decibel infractions. And then it listed the license plates of people who had broken the rule.
Public shame.
The cars.
Public shame you if your car was too loud. Buy your license plate. So you'd have to see like Joe's license plate number and be like, "What
is that? Fucking Brandon's plate, dude."
Brandon's Honda Fit was over 80 dB.
Dude, I knew it. What a fucking scumbag. And then we were joking about how if that existed in the US, it would become like a leaderboard. It would everybody.
And then there was this giant poster of any foreigners carrying basketballs, and they're just shaming them.
Yeah.
And they're building those across all the.
But I think that's a really beautiful sentiment, actually. I hadn't thought about that, but I definitely, this has made me feel very positive about the future. It's not like we're walking through these spaces that are perfect cities or the most beautiful cities I've ever been, but just so good in so many of these ways that are difficult to experience at home and at a scale that I just didn't really think was possible until I got here and saw it for myself, even though, I've read so many things about China. And I don't know. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the trip. So
yeah, me too. I will say it definitely motivates me at home to, we're talking about the difficulty and scale of this task, but truly it makes me think how with a few changes, these things are not that impossible. They're not that crazy.
If only someone is willing to do what must be done.
Yeah, I guess. I think it makes me like, we need to get going at home. Like, it makes me be like, I want to get Trump out. I want to move forward on some basic shit and put some money towards building some
and
trains.
we all know what you're saying.
We all know. Nobody should do it.
No, nobody should do it.
Nobody should do it.
Something needs to be
You
done.
shouldn't even think about it.
No, I'm not.
Shouldn't even think about it.
I wasn't saying that at all, by the way.
I can read
Say
between
it?
the
I
lines.
wasn't saying.
What were you saying?
I wasn't even implying that. I was just saying.
No, don't worry. I'm picking
that I
up
want-
what you're putting down.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to our show here in China. We will have Patreon bonus episodes. If you want to hear more of our walk-in talks as we walk around some of these cities, we've been recording a lot of B-roll, a lot of extra stuff, some of our interviews. And yeah, there's just more bonus content on the Patreon. We're gonna have another main episode here from China later on in our trip after we've seen some of these super high-tech cities like Chongqing and Shenzhen. So thank you again to the Patreon supporters who gave us the opportunity to do this trip.
Yeah.
Hitting 10,000 Patreons is what gave us the opportunity to do this.
Thank you so much.
And it really has been an eye-opening and a very cool trip. And it's just nice with the amount that we read and talk about China. I think the U.S.-China relationship is the grand story of the 2020s and the foreseeable future and what's the deterioration or the rebuilding of that, whatever happens. And it's cool to have some boots on the ground experience of just seeing, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I think walking through a city tells you a lot more than a lot of articles.
We're getting in here and we're reading Chinese Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We're on the ground scrolling, what is it, Baidu, Weibo. We're doing it.
We're
all right?
doing it.
No
We're
one
doing
else
it.
will.
No one else
all
can,
right?
no one else will do that.
No one else is doing it. And we're going to tell you all the memes. Probably Brandon will literally compile
Yeah.
memes
I'll literally.
and share
I
them
have
with
some
you.
memes I'm going to share that are truly. I showed Aiden one that is like,
Dude, they're psycho.
they're psychotic, some of them. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.